The trip back to the mainland was not without incident. Twice, Vedan ships attempted to board for inspection. Twice, they mysteriously disappeared beneath the waves after a sudden loss of communication. Edward Thatch, the captain, runs both a legitimate and less than legitimate shipping firm. Legitimate in his cargo runs, but not so legitimate when it comes to his personnel. Most aboard this ship, in fact, were some sort of mixed race. Halflings, giants, dwarves, elves, the whole gambit. You felt more at ease with the people around you than you have around anyone else. After 2 days of sailing, port is in sight, and Ismay has been thinking, going through her contact book and listing out members that could help. I think we need to secure financing first. Can't really do anything without money, right? Right, but about all I'm good at is music and pissing people off. Hedra thinks for a moment. Know any rich people wanting to help our resistance? Ismay pushes her lips back and forth. I'm not sure. I may have a couple contacts, but nothing certain. I would have to give them a ring in town. Let's do that. Maybe we can find a good place to lay low. We need to find out who's at the base of this problem. Hedrick runs her fingers through her blue hair. This is a lot. It is, but one step at a time, and eventually we find ourselves in Voldsam. The orc smirks at the old saying, originating from who knows where, but still applicable to this day. Do you need to go anywhere for anything? Maybe that will help determine what needs to happen. I need to let my dad know I'm okay. Does he have a phone? Hedrick chuckles. Maybe. My old man is a bit of a recluse, especially after Mom died. Ismay clicks her tongue. Sorry to hear that, Hedrick. Him knowing you are alive will certainly lift his spirits, though. Hedrick looks to her feet. I shouldn't have left him. Did you have a fight? A huge fight? Blow up at him? Leave him wondering? Kind of. Well, short story, I lost my temper and he stayed cool and calm as always. Only this time I left and did the thing he said not to do. And, well, the rest is history. Ismay is silent for a moment longer before she asks, Only daughter? Yep. Women in my family usually die after giving birth to the phoenix. Only my mom didn't die till I was 10. She still couldn't have any other kids, though. Ismay sighs. She looks at you, pain and empathy for your situation. From experience, your dad knowing you are alive and well will be the world to him. He may be mad, but that will come after he holds you. You bad-tempered daughter, too? Yeah, got that from my mom. She was an orc, and my dad... he was very brave. He an orc? Human. And a gentle, kind one at that. Hedrick chuckles. My mom was the fireball, too. Dad is stoic and cool as a cucumber. Sometimes I didn't believe the things that they said about him. Ismay smiles. Dads usually are. My dad, he would never tell you he was disappointed or angry or anything. He would look at me and his words would just flow out. My Thistle, you're better than that. Talk about a way to snap you back to reality. I had my problems, my issues, and my rebellions, but I could always go to him and he would bring me back in. You lose him? Both of them. It was one of the Patreon purges to get rid of undesirables. Only, they didn't take him to prison. They hung him. Thought a man having relations and being monogamous with an orc was an abomination. Ismay shakes her head. Mom came out with her axe. Took a good half dozen down before the gun's fire finally ended her as well. I ran for it, knowing if I was caught, that would be it. I ran and I ran and I ran until I reached the sea. I found Fatch a few days later. He stowed away on a ship, and as he was on his way to Voldsam, he found me. Hedrick wonders what she can even say to that. I'm sorry, that's fucked up. Ismay shrugs. Dad and Mom died because of their love for me. I make sure they never regret that, by living each day as best I can. Why do you think I was so outraged when I came into the center? I've seen that abuse before, and I want to end it, once and for all. We will, eventually. There's more of us than they think. We just need to get organized. I agree, and that starts with getting some funding. Thatch's assistance can only get us so far. We have to find some better funds, older funds, from somewhere. What about resources? Well, that comes with money. You can buy anything, for the right price. Ships, soldiers, weapons, allegiance, power. It all goes back to that simple greed. People want money, and they will do anything for it. Well, I'm talking about the huge resource shortage. Food, fuel, metals, etc. What if we could find resources to sell? We'd make a ton of money. Oh, you mean find untapped resources? Ismay thinks for a moment. You would have to go off the map for that, and there aren't many places that are off the map. That would be a Thatch question. That Mur has seen everything and been everywhere. He seems like the man who's seen things. I think there has to be at least something. If there is, it will be deadly to get, though. He is, and hence why it hasn't been exploited yet. Want to go chat with him? Maybe he's got ideas? I think that would be best. He knows things and would likely be a good resource just to bounce ideas off of. Hedrick nods and makes her way to see Thatch. Hedrick makes her way to the bridge, and as she enters, she finds Captain Thatch speaking with what looks to be the navigator. They seem to be plotting some sort of a course. Hedrick waits awkwardly, not wanting to interrupt, also unsure what the proper manners are for approaching a captain. The two of them speak for a few more minutes before the navigator nods and steps away. He looks at the two of you and nods again before leaving. Captain Thatch rubs his brown eyes for a moment before waving you two forward. Sally was working something out for a course after we hit port. Will save us several gallons of fuel that way. What can I help you with? We wanted to pick your brain about ideas to raise money for our rebellion. However, we can come back if you're too busy. No, a distraction is nice. The Mer pulls a pipe from his jacket and places it in his mouth. He doesn't light it or anything, just simply rolls it between his teeth. Are you talking about getting supporters? People willing to fund your efforts? Yes, or finding resources to sell so we could be more self-sufficient. So either begging or braving certain death. What do you prefer? Or we could be thorough and beg and face certain death, because it's going to take a lot of fuel to burn the center to the ground, and, well, Mama wants a nice hot fire. Captain Thatch thinks for a moment, biting his pipe. He finally responds, tapping his finger on the table in front of him. The begging is easy. There are some who would jump at supporting you if they would give them the chance, and if you give them something worthwhile. Going for resources would require you to go off-map. Dangerous, but countries like Pasha or Vita would pay an arm and a leg. Voltsum wishes that they could, but they are in such disarray right now that, well, they would be more of a charity case. I know Voltsum is my home. Any place in Voltsum that we could make a hideout of? There is the island in the bay. Not many go there because of the harsh weather and the difficult traveling in the winter. There are also some island chains further south. Not much is known about them except that they are rocks, and, well, that's really about it. Well, anywhere we go, it needs to be unhospitable, so no one else goes there. What about Vita? I know Patria is very useless as far as resources go. The Mer thinks. There are some islands near the center if you are wanting to be close but just out of reach. You could settle one or two of those, but bringing people to and from there is a challenge. As for Patria... Thatch scratches his head and then shakes it. There are resources, but it's incredibly dangerous. What kind of resources? Where? The old Mer sighs, shakes his head and details. Oil, metal deposits including iron and copper, and plenty of coal. Damn, what's the big catch? Oh, there isn't just one. Apparently there are 3. Thatch sighs again and begins counting them off with his finger. Number 1, there's the Moldova Triangle. Number 2, there's the Unreachable. And number 3, there's the Guardian. So take your pick. What are all of those? The Moldova Triangle is a section of sea just off the Vita that is notorious for its unpredictable nature. Ships since you humans could sail have been lost to those strange and deadly currents. If that wasn't the worst part, then the Unreachable resides there. Savage natives that want to do nothing more than kill you, stick you on a spit, and roast you for dinner. Then there's the Guardian. Supposedly it's a creature so fierce and destructive that it ensures nothing, and I mean Nothing. Leaves the island without his permission. That sounds like a pain. Maybe one of our only choices, though. Say, do you know any others like yourself that would be willing to sail and join us? Like myself? How so? Old, free-spirited pirate? Hedra smirks at him. Yes, all of those things, and maybe has a secret fleet? If you are implying that I know of an elite cabal that happens to own the largest fleet in the whole of Illustratum, then I'm sorry, but I am not invited to such a group and unaware of them. That would require an actual military from one of the three. Well, you just seemed like you might know of such a thing. Guess we'll have to make one ourselves. How about other Mer willing to fight? There are plenty who are willing to fight, but they are part of an older generation that is dying out. Their anger extends all the way back to the division, but they are not nearly as powerful now as they were then. Still, some of the younger, more zealous ones will join, I am sure. Right. The division might make things more difficult with the Mer. Still, I want all races to have equal rights and opportunities, and those rights and opportunities should start now. Could you send word to them? Let them know a group... What should we call ourselves? Hedrick looks around and sees nothing but playing cards. A group called The Deck needs some more players to start changing the fate of Illustratum? I can most certainly relay that information to the Royal Lines. You will get support, but I don't know what kind or how much. Thatch looks to you, hoping that his answer is sufficient. I very much appreciate you, Thatch. Thatch nods, putting his pipe away. You are welcome, Silene. He smiles. We shall be arriving in Casa de Roca shortly. Will you be going ashore? I suppose I should. We need to figure some things out, and I want to call my father. Thatch nods and stands up. Do you want anyone to go with you? I'll always welcome extra company, especially if I get into trouble. Odds are I'll do that again. You can bring Ismay with you if you wish, and of course anyone from your group. Anything else I may assist you with? No, I don't think so. I very much appreciate all you've done for us so far. Hedge turns to Ismay. Want to help catch the group up? Yeah, let's go do so. Ismay begins heading down towards the stairs, leading below deck. Hedrick follows, still not completely sure how to navigate the ship. And as she follows Ismay leads her down the stairs, to a left, then a right, and somehow arrives back in the crew quarters next to the washroom. The group of 6 looks up at the two, and then goes back to what they were doing. Jin and Katrina are both exhibiting their respective Joritan and Sirens clan abilities, having configured small figures of electricity and of fire. Kiyu and Avery are engaged in a game of cards, the halfling dwarf clearly winning, but Kiyu being a good sport. Cody and Penelope are talking across from each other on respective bunts. Hedra thinks, well, those two have sure gotten close. That must be nice. Well, guys, we'll be making port shortly. We have a few plans, but nothing set in stone yet. They each look to Hedrick. The obvious question of who's going with comes to mind. Each of them eagerly awaits your command. Command? That's a new concept. Not gonna lie, I'm not exactly sure how we're going to do this. So I'm looking to all of you for ideas and suggestions. Each of us are an important element in this game. Just one of you could completely change a hand we are dealt. That's why I'd like to call our organization The Deck. You know, like a deck of cards. Kiyu looks at it and then looks to you. That makes sense. We should start by getting funding and try to find more friends. A collective nod. And Cody clears his throat. Someone with military experience. If we're going to be fighting, some of it may be informational and espionage warfare, but some of it could be tactical. We would need that extra edge if someone who's cool in combat. There's more murmurs of agreement. Plus, some sort of medical center in the event things go wrong. Penelope's words are also met with agreement by all. They look to each other, realizing the gravity of the situation, before looking back to you. I agree. All good ideas. We've spoken with Captain Thatch about ideas for resources and possible places for a base. But before I go any further, I want to make something very clear about our organization. This is to be a place of new beginnings. Your past is your past. You are not judged by your race, your home, your religion. Here our goal is to make a safe place where anyone can pursue liberty and happiness. I understand there will be those who wish to come and join and destroy that we are building. But even they get a chance to do the right thing before we pass judgment. Does anyone disagree with that? Hedrick looks around the room. There's a moment when everyone ponders and mulls over your words. Kyo is the first to nod in agreement with the ideals and the goals. Then Penelope, Cody, Ismay, Avery, Jin, Katrina. Hedrick nods and pulls a new deck of cards out of her jacket. She hands Cody the stack of hearts, Kyo the stack of clubs, Avery, Jin, and Katrina the stack of diamonds, and Ismay the stack of spades. All she has left in her hands are 2 jokers. Cody, you have the hearts because you are now in charge of medicine. I expect you to fill out the rest of your deck with people who can help you. Your deck will be the heart of our force. Avery, Jin, Katrina. We need resources, food, ammo, weapons, armor, clothes, etc. Fill out your deck with those who can help with that. Your deck will fuel the body of our force. Q, you have the clubs. We need fighters, lots of fighters. Not just people skilled in the art of war, but those who care about the future of all of Illustratum. Fill your deck with these people. They will be the hands of our force. Ismay, you have spades. We need transportation for air, sea, and land. Find those who can help you find it and run it. Your deck will be the legs of our force. Hedrick walks over to Penelope and looks her in the eyes. She was the first to follow and believe in her. She hands her one of the 2 jokers and holds up her own. For now, Penelope and I will be the head of our force. Not 1, but 2 people. We are the face and the ones to take the ridicule so you can focus on what you need to do. When you need something, let us know. We are here to serve and protect you to the best of our abilities. Hedrick looks at Penelope again, just to be sure she accepts this weighty job, knowing she is more than capable of it. Penelope reaches up and, gingerly, gently, takes the card from you. She holds it like it's the lost king's crown, cherishing it, feeling its weight, its responsibility, its privilege. There are tears in her eyes, joy, anxiety, fear, understanding. Hedrick can see all of these things, and as Penelope closes her eyes, a single tear escapes. But when she opens them, all those emotions are gone, replaced by one that not only herself, but she's seen in others. Resolve. Well, as representatives of food, ammo, supplies, we will check in town and see what we can find, Avery says, awfully cheerful for what's just happened. Let's see if we can get some of the lessers to join us, the undesirables. They made the world turn with their revolutionary tech. It's time to see if, well, we can get them to use that again. Let me check with a friend. She may be able to help us. Heh. Maybe even help Cody if she accepts. Excellent. From now on, we refer to each other by our card. I am Joker 1. Penelope, Joker 2. Cody, Ace of Hearts. Kiyu, the Ace of Clubs. Ismay, the Ace of Spades. Avery, the Ace of Diamonds. Jin, King of Diamonds. Katrina, Queen of Diamonds. Everyone follow? Hedrick looks around to get a feel for everyone. There's nods of understanding all around, and they all look back to Hedrick. It's Kiyu who pipes up. Not sure how practical it is for me to be out and speaking, but I shall do my best. Well, we will get you someone who can go out and speak for you then. Besides, Thatch told us of a place where you might be the best person. Hedrick clears the table and lays the map out. She shows them the islands that Thatch had told her about, explaining what he said, what he told her, and why we might be able to get resources from it. It'll be extremely dangerous, but if we could get resources and the people on our side, we might just have a fighting chance. Sounds like a plan to me. Kiyu nods, holding his card close. Cody looks at his card and sighs. He pockets it and nods, understanding the weight of this. Casa de Roca, I'll head into town, talk with the doctors and physicians. We'll need a lot more than a few syringes and first aid kits if we're going to start building a full-fledged rebellion. I prefer to call it a change of management. I'd like to make a place where we can come and exchange information. It could turn into a great place to overhear things as well. You know how people talk once you've got a couple of drinks in them, and good food. Let's look for a good place by the docks to make a little bar. That works until the booze is gone. Even still, I get where you're coming from, and I support it. Cody nods to you, then to Penelope. You two just be careful, okay? Hedrick summons her sax and starts playing a sassy tune. After a moment, she stops. People always underestimate the power of a good tune. She looks at Cody and smirks. I'll bring her back. You have to learn to share. She was my friend 5 hours before you. Cody rolls his eyes, but a smirk pops up at the corner of his mouth. I'll speak with the captain. He doesn't know of a cabal, but I bet he has individuals who would be willing to help. Anything, really, and I will head into town, and accordingly from there. Ismay looks at her card before pocketing it and heading back to the bridge. As Hedrick takes in the sea, the sun, the gentle rolling of the waves off the coast, she looks up to see the port of Casa de Roca. The place was built shortly after the Great Quake, as a way of getting materials across the continent, as easy and as quickly as possible. Since then, it had graduated to a larger and larger port and shipwright. There are all sorts of ships, civilian and military, steaming and moving into and out of town. Seagulls caw, hungry as the fishing trawlers bring in their catch. The smell of marketplaces and bakeries catch your nose, even this far out. As the cutter pulls in, you note that the captain is able to bring the ship to port perfectly on the first try. Hedder wonders if, perhaps, a little subtle water manipulation was at play, or maybe it's just his skill. Either way, a ramp leaves the boat and contacts the dock. Penelope is out on the deck a moment before, looking to Hedrick with a smile. Ready to go tell some jokes? My entire life is a joke, Penelope. Yes, let's get cracking. Hedrick walks down the plank and hooks her arm through Penelope's, and the two walk off. Penelope giggles as they walk off into town. After a moment, she looks to Hedrick and asks, So, first stop you need to make is a phone booth. Well, there should be one at a bar. Let's look for one there. Sounds good. I'll need to play a few songs first. I need change for the phone call. Well, bars would be a good location to start. Oh, here's one. As Hedrick and Penelope come up, they find themselves looking at an old brick building on a cobblestone road. The tile is a rustic brown and goes well with the red brick and glass walls. Iron grills support the panes of glass in place, hinting at an older time when conflict was inevitable, but the building should be rebuilt. They notice the sign to the building, and Penelope hides a little blush. The Sneaky Ginger, a very attractive-looking and well-endowed redhead, is holding her dress down, showing off her legs and thighs, and barely anything less. Well, want to try this one? Looks promising. Give me a second. Hedger steps into an empty alley beside the bar and summons her saxophone. Taking her hat off, she sets it in front of her for tips, and she stands in front of the window. Keep an eye out while I play. It's better manners to play outside unless the barkeep invites you in. Slowly, she begins a song to warm up. As Hedrick begins to play, a couple of people walk by, observing, listening, wondering. They don't drop anything, but if her father had taught her anything, it's that patience prevails. Her father was right. After the start of the second song, a couple of fishermen drop off a couple credits each, giving Hedrick a total of 4 credits, enough for an hour and 20-minute conversation, if she so chooses. But Hedrick decides to play a little bit longer in case they want drinks. This time she starts a song that's been known to start a dance or two. And as she continues to play, she notices a stocky and well-fed man exit from the bar. He wears an apron, a white shirt, and khaki pants. He listens to the music for a few moments before walking over. He clears his throat as she finishes the song, a small group gathering now, and giving her another 6 credits. As the onlookers pass, the man holds out his hand.
Morning, miss. Name's Boris Goodman, the owner of this bar.
Hedrick extends her hand and shakes his. Good morning, Mr. Goodman. The name's Hedrick, and this is my friend Penelope.
Pleasure to meet you two.
He greets Penelope with a handshake.
New to town? I haven't heard a saxophone player in a few months. Haven't heard a good saxophone player in years.
He smiles and chuckles. Well, I suppose it's good I came along to uphold the honor of saxophones. Yeah, we just got here a day or two, and thought it would be a nice little chance to play and maybe make a little change. Hedrick smiles back.
Well, if you would like to play this evening at my establishment, I can provide food, drink, and you can keep your tips.
Penelope looks to Hedrick, a content grin on her face. It would be a pleasure, Mr. Goodman. Tell me, do you have a phone I could use?
I do. It's a personal line, but if you're okay using that, then you can come on in.
I would be very grateful if you'd lend it to me. She follows Boris inside. The stocky man leads her into the bar, where he pulls out a handset and receiver. He hands them to her, and she picks them up immediately. Once she does, she hears the earpiece respond, Operator 328, how may I direct your call? Hedrick clears her throat. Yes, I would like to make a call to the Wolf residence. Heath Wolf, please. 1 moment, please. There's a couple of clicks before she hears a ringing sound. After about a minute, she hears a male voice, her father's voice, come on the line. Heath Wolf, who's this? Hey, Dad. The line is silent for a few seconds. Hedrick wonders if maybe the call was dropped when she hears the voice ask a simple question. Bluebird? Yeah, I didn't think the old wolf would be prowling around the house. You doing okay, Dad? Where are you, kiddo? You close? I'm well enough to see you. I'm in Vita. I don't know when I'll see you. Not exactly riding by the public roads these days. I'm sorry for all the things I said when I left. I was wrong. Bluebird, just hearing you warms this old man's spirits. We're in Vita. I can get some funds and come see you. It hasn't been the same since you left. Dad, Hedrick looks around to see if anyone is listening in, and looking around, it doesn't appear like any of the patrons are listening. Hedrick turns back and speaks quietly but clearly into the receiver. Dad, they took me into prison where they keep clans and other races. I broke out and we're making our way back to Voltsum. That's all I can tell you, but I'll try and get to you. We could use your help. I love you so much. Hedrick wipes away a tear. I love you, Bluebird. Get here. I can help you like I helped your mom. Be safe. I will wait for you. Okay. I'll see you then, old wolf. Pup out. Hedrick hangs the handset on the receiver, and Boris returns it to the bar. He looks at Hedrick, and he asks,
Need any help with directions, or you two going to wander for a bit?
I think we will wander, and maybe do some window shopping. Boris nods and smiles.
Well, return this evening. I'll have a spot for you on the stage.
Thanks. We will do so. Hedrick nods to Penelope, and the two of them exit the bar. The two of them exit the bar, and, content in their securing of money, of food, and drink, they begin to wander, window shopping, and just looking around. And as they walk, it strikes the two of them as odd that there are plenty of soldiers here, not many of which are lean, and all of them appear to have a lieutenant's rank or higher. They're conversing openly about things as they walk around. Some about their soldiers' squalor conditions and how horrible it must be for them. Some about the lack of supplies, but the spirit keeping high. A select few even talking tactics of upcoming raids against Voltsum. With that, Hedrick fiddles with her saxophone and listens in on one of the tactics against Voltsum. And as she fiddles with her saxophone, she is able to hear an older major speaking to a slightly younger captain. Anyways, if we keep on the offensive in the southern district, number 5, we can easily push across the river. Sir, we have thrown everything at our disposal on that offensive. Bombers, artillery, infantry, short of tanks, we will be unable to cross. Whatever ragtag team they have, defending that is proving to be a massive thorn on our side. Well, then attack the civilian centers, focus the military efforts on relief and aid of their own. It will crumble within a day or two. The men continue walking. After a moment, Penelope looks over with disgust in her eyes. Maybe we should give that team a heads up. Shall we shop? Hedrick looks around, wishing she could actually give them a heads up. Penelope nods. I could try and sneak down there, get across, get in touch. Hedrick sighs. Maybe? I don't think we have the resources, though I can't stand the thought of innocent people. Gods, why? What do you think? Penelope pushes her lips together, deep in thought. After a moment, she looks at Hedrick and asks, can we live with ourselves knowing that we could have tried but didn't? Not a chance. Let's see what we can do. Hedrick runs her hands through her hair. Let's play tonight. Get enough to cover a train ticket. The railways still work. If I can transit down there, I can figure out who to warn and go from there. Penelope puts her hand on Hedrick's shoulder. Hedrick pats her hand. Okay, maybe we can use this to our advantage. I was thinking of the Hyperions or those islands off of Voldsum Coast for a hideout. This trip can be used to figure out what is best. Good idea. We can let the others know our plans so they don't feel like they have to wait for us. Let's go tell them. I want to meet up with Dad when we are down there. He's got quite a few military contacts. Then, to Voldsum we go, Penelope smiles. But first, let's get you an outfit for playing this evening. You have to look as good as you play. Hedrick chuckles. Agreed. And let's get you something that doesn't make you look like you're about to rob a bank. She smirks at Penelope. Hey, if we're going to be doing this, robbing a bank may not be out of the question, Penelope chuckles. The two of them join arms and walk off to the shops. The two of them continue further into Casa de Roca. The bars and taverns turn into shops, businesses, and recruiting stations. Most buildings have some form of propaganda on their sides. Things about joining Vita against the evils of Voldsum and Patria, keeping information confidential, buying war bonds, etc. If there were such a thing as a legitimate war, this would be something worth supporting, but then again, when has there ever been a legitimate war? Turning around another corner, the two find themselves looking down a series of shops. Clothiers, jewelers, furniture, and a couple of general stores. Penelope points out a shop that looks promising along this strip. It's a simple wooden shop, tucked in with the others. The sign says, Azure Clothing. Well, let's try it. With that, Hedrick walks to the shop. She opens the shop and finds a place well kept, clean, orderly. It feels almost like a different world. There's various clothes on the center racks, but the outskirts of the shopping area are just fabric. There's a feeling that not only does this place make clothing, but they make good clothing. And as the two continue, Hedrick's eye is caught by movement towards the side of the shop. A woman in very progressive clothing appears to be working on a new dress. She's humming to herself and keeping a steady pace. At the sound of the bell, she turns and looks at Hedrick and Penelope, and she smiles. She walks over and greets them. Hello, I'm Scarlett Azure, owner of Azure Clothing. May I help you? She smiles. Her eyes are drawn from red hair to reddish brown eyes, to her earrings, and finally the tattoo that's on her neck. Overall, Hedrick looks at just her. She looks to be the sort of person who's carefree, content, happy.